How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here. Welcome back to another video. So yes, it has been achieved. Somebody has been able to do what we initially thought, not strictly impossible, but we thought was a very, very lofty goal. And somebody has managed to max one of their professions. Full 525 knowledge points in the profession. Every single skill tree full to the brim. And the big way that they were able to do this was like what we've been talking about so recently on the channel. They were farming dragon shards. They were farming these things like their life depended on it. And over the last, how long are we now? Like 8-9 weeks into Dragonflight, they've been able to collect enough of the things that they are, you know, one profession down. Done. GG, well played. I wanted to take a little bit of a look at this today. I wanted to look at it in a bit more detail, maybe sort of work out how this was achieved and see how much truth behind it there is. I'm not throwing any, rumors out there that this could not be true. There is pictures to go with it, which is at least very helpful. But let's take a little bit of a look into it. Knowledge points for reference, by the way, and more importantly, dragon shards are what I feel to be a bit of a catch-up system in Dragonflight. I've said this a few times, but you can find your dragon shards of knowledge from a variety of different sources, whether you be killing rares or farming dirt, or they can sometimes drop from your weekly Accord quest. You can get them to drop from bosses in the raid. There are many, many different ways you can get hold of these, but every single dragon shard of knowledge is worth 1 knowledge point to you and 50 artisan's metal. Collect enough of them, funnel them all into a single profession, and you can kind of push yourself a little bit further ahead. I've been thinking that I've been doing quite well. Personally, I'm junk crafting and leatherworking on my main character. I have somewhere in the region of 250 or so, 260 knowledge points for each of my professions right now, and I thought I was doing really well. I actually track these. Some people who watch the stream on a regular basis will know that I track how many knowledge points I've got for the professions. I'll talk about all of this in a little bit more detail in an upcoming video. But for today, I just wanted to sort of showcase that, 200, 300 knowledge points is where the big boys are sat right now. If you've been playing with the professions from day one, there's a good chance that you're within that 200 to 300 knowledge point range. I have heard and seen of some people with 300 plus, but they're, few and far between. So to actually have a full 525 knowledge points acquired in a single profession right now is bananas. Let's take a little bit of a look at who it was, how they did it, and take a look in a bit more detail. So it was over on the WoW Economy subreddit that this was posted, and by the user of the name Dirt God. So the username definitely checks out on this. Dirt God came along with some screenshots, and they said that they 100% maxed out the entire engineering profession by farming dragon shards. If you want to have a look at, have a little bit of a look and read through all the comments on this, I'll leave a link to this in the description down below. But we're going to take a little bit of a look at the screenshots and a few of the comments here today, because it's remarkable how it was done. Firstly, the screenshots though. Let's have a look, see what was going on. So just to showcase here, engineering, I think, is one of the more modest professions to try and achieve this with, simply because it has less knowledge points that are needed. Each tree looks kind of very basic, very similar, but you can see they've maxed out all of them in the optimized efficiency. The exact same can be said for explosives. Function over form maxed out as well. And mechanical mind is also maxed out entirely. You do the maths on this, you calculate it all out. I already knew the number ahead of time, but it's 525 knowledge points. That is quite impressive. But now on to how did they do this? What were they actually doing to achieve this? The truth be told is they were doing a lot of farming. Excuse me. They were doing an awful lot of farming. They were farming treasures and they were farming dirt piles. And they were also killing rares as and when they were available. There's a couple of comments here by the original poster saying it probably took them somewhere in the region of 8 hours a day over the past sort of 6 weeks to be able to achieve this. this is kind of the big thing to take away from this, boys and girls, is that this is not really achievable for the average player. Most people don't even have the ability to play the game 8 hours a day, never mind the mindset or the drive or the desire to do nothing but collect dirt, kill rares, and find treasures. If you do have the brain power to be able to do this, all the more to you, but I understand why most people cannot. In terms of the quantity of dragon shards that they came across to be able to achieve this, they said somewhere in the region of about 250. I don't think they were strictly tracking this, as I imagine my guess here personally would be that they didn't start out to do this. They were starting to get more and more of them, and figured out a route and just decided to just keep doing it. And if you keep doing something for long enough, you get some pretty good results out of it. 250 dragon shards kind of checks out though. If you take 250 away from the 525 as like total possible knowledge, that puts you in a area where I think is actually quite feasible to do with engineering, especially if you've got all of the recipes, you've got all your first time crafts. Because there's a lot of things you craft with engineering. You unlocking all of the bracers. There's all the different variations of the bombs. There's lots of things you can get first time crafts for. So I suspect that it probably is about 250 dragon shards that was needed to achieve this. But even that, crazy results, right? This also leads on to how many did they get and when did they get them? One of the very first things I suspect many people will be typing in the comments is that, they just abused the early week dirt farming. I kind of want to try and put this myth to bed a little bit, to be honest. It's a bit hard to do, but the rumors and the theory that dirt pile farming was broken the first week, I've never really seen any categorical proof for it. I've seen people who farmed an awful lot in the first week of Dragonflight and in turn got lots of dragon shards for doing it. But, if you're spending 18 hours a day farming dirt piles, you're likely to get 40 dragon shards in a few days. This guy's gone on to actually say that in the last couple of weeks, though, the drop rate on the dragon shards seems to be increasing. Recently been getting 45 to 55 a week over the last few weeks. This leads me to believe once again that dragon shards are meant to be a bit of a catch-up system. They're going to slowly increase the rate of them that we can acquire over time, slowly increasing the drop rate by doing things. And of course, if you're just doing more of the qualifying things, you are going to come across more of them in total. The funny thing with this, though, is 250 dragon shards is going to make a huge amounts of artisan's metal. This was a big thing at the beginning of the expansion. People were desperately trying to work out how to get as much artisan's metal as they could. And with this amount of knowledge points, I don't know if I can find the exact comment here quickly for the purpose of the video, but they were saying somewhere along the... Oh, here we go. Yeah, they've got 11,000 unused artisan's metal right now. They can probably be crafting tools and guaranteeing 418 crafts for pretty much anybody, and undercutting the market as well. I would suspect that this person has been able to use engineering to do absolutely ridiculous things gold making wise. I would suspect they're probably, if they're proactive about it, one of the top players on their specific realm for crafting gear, at least the engineering gear anyway, and is probably the go-to guy. And that, that will pay dividends going forward as well. If you get your name out there as the engineer on a server, especially if they happen to be on a bigger server, practically unlimited customers. Charge a small tip every time and you get rich very quickly. They did say that the drop rate on the dragon shards, though, is anything but regular. And this might go to showcase why we see so frequently people say that they've farmed a bunch of treasures and see nothing. And then we see some people that get seemingly really lucky almost instantly. The guy said he had a dry streak of over 1,000 treasures, but has also achieved them literally back-to-back dirt piles. Going on to say that maybe 350 to 400 treasures is probably the average that you would need to farm to get a single dragon shard. But rares seem to be much higher. And this leads us into what we were talking about in the last video, that now there's those 30-minute rares that you can kill. If you're questioning what rares and what 30-minute rares, check out the last video. But the rares seem to have a much higher drop chance of these dragon shards in the first place. So as and when you're online, it is worthwhile just going, oh, there's a rare up, go kill it. It doesn't really matter what character you're on, because I suspect that you probably want to increase your professions on all your characters anyway. But yeah, kill rares. Kill rares, that's the good thing to be doing. This, though, like I said, it's going to be, I wanted to showcase this just as you know, a case study, a bit of a case study, and it's an example of what is achievable, but I do understand that it's not achievable for most, especially 8 hours a day. The amount of physical hours that must be over a 6-week period, I'm not doing the quick maths off the top of my head, but that's a lot of dirt farming, a lot of rare killing. But they're done for the rest of the expansion. They're now done. Put in the effort at the beginning, and they're now done. Let's hope that 10.1 doesn't bring anything. Imagine a 10.1 bought a full profession reset. I'm sure this guy would scream into a pillow. But we'll see what happens. It should be fun. There are some extra links in the article as well that go over things like the routes that he was using as well. For example, the way that they were farming this was not strictly following a regular dirt farming route. They were actually bouncing between where the big rare chests are, as the chests seem to do pretty well for treasures, and then obviously any dirt piles or rares you come across on that path, you kill them, you loot them, you do your thing. One thing that was definitely utilized a lot was realm hopping, shard hopping. This could be super beneficial. Nowadays, you tend to find that, I would hazard a guess, like a good 80% of all of the players of the game probably play on like a handful of different servers. And it means that those specific shards, those versions of the zones are going to be super competitive for both rares and dirt piles and treasure chests. And so what you want to do is you want to be shard hopping. You want to be jumping onto another server that has much lower populations, far more likely to have a good chance of being able to gather up the dirt piles. And this can easily be done. You go into the group finder, you join a random group for a random event that's in the zone that you're looking to, you know, hop to, and it will phase you into a different layer. And you know, you can chill in that group for a couple of minutes and then leave, and under most circumstances you stay on the new shard. It's a bit cheesy, and I can understand if you're actually trying to use the group finder for its legitimate purpose of finding people for a group. It's a bit frustrating when players jump in and jump out again and they're clearly realm hopping, but most of the time it's world quests and, you know, key farming and this sort of stuff, so people don't take too much of offense to it. But have a little bit of a look through these. There's a few maps for the different zones that they follow, and some nice annotations to follow along with. So if you are crazy enough to try and give this a go yourself, there's some resources for you to have a little bit of a look at here. Starting over on one side, flying around, following the river for the dirt piles, picking up some treasures, finishing here. I think there's a flight path around here somewhere that you can hop back. You can, or just maybe just do a 180 and fly back. I'm not entirely sure, but have a little bit of a look through this, boys and girls. Have a little bit of a read through the comments as well. Maybe leave a comment or two yourself also. But I'll leave it there for today. Like I said, I wanted to showcase this as an example of what is achievable. And it goes to show, with enough time and enough effort, you can achieve some ridiculous things in this game. But if you enjoyed the video, give the video a like. Consider subscribing if you're new around here, boys and girls, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.